fellow Ambazonians, following the abduction of our President, His Excellency Sako Ayuk Tabe Julius, and some members of his cabinet, I was mandated by our people to be acting President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, above the tallest mountains, and seated at the foot of the Mount Sako in Boya, to systematically and robustly prosecute a war that was already 2 months old, as was declared upon us by the octogenarian President Paul Biya of La République du Cameroon on the 30th of November 2017. One of my goals was to reunite forces within and between all our great freedom fighters at home and abroad, to harness a collective momentum in the actualization of our independence restoration movement, and to plant our flag at the Prime Minister's Lodge in Boya in due time. Peradventure, if God forbid, our President, His Excellency Sako Julius Ayuk Tabe, will yet be in captivity. Today, I stand before you in the ranks of this high office as your humble servant. You all deserve the right to our Ambazonian nationhood. Your dignity, safety, and sovereignty are my primary responsibilities. Every day, I wake up to the humiliation and genocidal onslaught against you, my people, by the evil gangster colonial regime. I feel the urge deep down in my bones to free you from the almost 6 decades of recolonization till the last drop of my blood. Your hopes and aspirations of realizing a totally free and prosperous nation of Ambazonia is a crusade that triggers my willingness for absolute commitment. My unflinching commitment, therefore, towards this dream, the Ambazonian dream, is sustained with that insight that I am only one out of over 10 million Ambazonians. And one Ambazonian cannot be as wise as all Ambazonians put together. That is why I am here to work with you on how we should do it. As one man, one nation, and one unstoppable and insurmountable force. As we enter 2019 with great expectations and robust, energy-efficient strategies, I will seek to offer a more inclusive political leadership in the diaspora and a coordinated command structure on Ground Zero to be established by the 13 county self-defense structures on Ground Zero, while we enthusiastically complete the final rounds of this fierce conflict. But before I get into the nuggets of how we will do that, permit me to present a review of the year 2018. This same time last year, 2017, President Sako told us that 2018 will be the year of recognition and homecoming. And it has been so indeed. I am not here for a presidential campaign with high praises of our achievement, even in the face of difficulties, but I am looking deep into your hearts to tell you straightforwardly and without fear of contradiction that, like never before, the year 2018 has been a hectic and challenging year for the people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. In the midst of all the complex wartime challenges in 2018, the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, under my humble leadership, has stood tall with unwavering integrity or resolve, poised and focused on prosecuting the war against our one true enemy, the evil tyrant dictator Paul Biya and his cohorts. During this year, we have taken major studies or strides to raise international awareness about our plight and cause, thereby taking the people of Ambazonia closer to Biya than ever before. His Excellency Sako Ayoktabe had staked this lofty goal on the foundation of unity, which to him then and to us now is very important in our struggle to reach Biya as soon as possible. Like never before, our people are more galvanized in their resolve to liberate homeland. Despite our every effort to defend homeland to the best of our ability and according to the means available, our enemy, the annexationist regime led by Paul Biya and his terrorist forces, have been evilly versatile in unleashing their carnage on our people. They have escalated their genocidal apparatus against our people, devising new strategies in their ambition to exterminate us. But at every turn, God has fought for us, exposing their diabolic schemes ahead of execution, thereby minimizing our losses. They have been continuously burning our villages and towns and executing or unlawfully incarcerating Ambazonians, males especially, that they feel can defend our homeland. And these concentration camps have debilitating, inhumane conditions on purpose perhaps to cause as many deaths as possible. They have plotted to eliminate our leaders and disappear their corpses incommunicado, but their plan was exposed before they could execute it. They plotted to indiscriminately mass execute large portions of our southern zone Ambazonians under the guise of vaccinations against unfounded epidemic outbreaks, and failed yet again. Even after our people escaped and took refuge in a foreign land, they sought to eliminate them with poisoned provisions in the name of humanitarian relief. We thought their strategy to eliminate or exterminate every male Ambazonian was an unsubstantiated threat until they started actually shooting our boys as young as 10 years of age. Since dictator Paul Biya declared war on our people, more than 1 year ago, more than 8,000 of our compatriots have been killed, some of them massacred and buried in unidentified mass graves. Bodies are still being discovered in bushes as we speak. More than 4,000 are jailed in dungeons called prisons, scattered around La République du Cameroon and in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Just a few days ago, we had some of our own roasted in Bali and Big Babanki, respectively. United Nations Commission for Human Rights estimates that more than 436,000 Ambazonians are now internally displaced as of November 2018, while the Human Rights Watch report of the 19th of July 2018 estimates the number of Ambazonian refugees in Nigeria to be more than 50,000. In less than a week from now, we will be commemorating 1 year since our president, Sisiko Ayok Tabe, and 9 of our leaders, Dr. Fongalafo, Deacon Tassan Wilfred, Dr. Fidelis Nde, Chair, Dr. Henry Kime, Professor Awasum, Dr. Cornelius Kwanga, Barrister Elias Iyambe, Dr. Ogok Ntui, and Barrister Shufai Bless were abducted from Nigeria and taken to La République du Cameroon, then jailed for 11 months incommunicado. In the days ahead, we will decree the 5th of January every year to be the day of justice for all, for our community. We will therefore set aside that day to demand justice for all in the spirit of gratitude to God Almighty. Our leaders' next appearance in the colonial kangaroo court is in 10 days' time. The videos and images of their previous appearances in court should, however, encourage us all to remain fortified. They are our inspiration as we continue this journey of no return to Boya. Anytime we feel the urge to give up, like some people do, let us remember our brave compatriots, Amigo, Ivo, Tiger, Bia Beltus, and others. If we remember our valiant commanders and commandos, as we dove our hearts to those in the battlefields in Lebialem, Mezam, Boyo, Manyu, Fako, Mencho, Momo, Meme, Dian, Bali, Bui, and Donga Manto at this moment, how can we even linger around the thought of giving up? Let us think of Mancho Bibixi, Pen Terence, Patrick Dango, and all those heroes languishing in colonial prisons and other detention centers in La République du Cameroon and the British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Let us think of our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children who spent their Christmas in deplorable conditions in bushes, without shelter, without food or medicine. Think of the numerous compatriots who have fled homeland and are refugees in neighboring Nigeria or other neighboring countries, and even in the world at large. My dear Ambalanders, when you gave me the leadership baton of this revolution early this year, I categorically told you that we will move on fully to the self-defense phase of this revolution in response to the massacre of our people by the ruthless colonial regime. I therefore asked you, compatriots, at the beginning of my tenure, to partner with me by sowing a revolutionary seed financially through the My Trip to Boya project. You responded to my call. Though we did not reach the threshold amount we agreed on, I want to tell you all, thank you once more for answering the call to invest in our liberation. Even though we had only about a third of what we requested, you will agree with me that we have changed the face of this revolution in all aspects. We have been able to galvanize our community self-defense structures, which were mostly concentrated in a few counties like Manu and Lebialem to now our entire national territory. Through the Ambazonia Self-Defense Council, we have been able to bring together our brave volunteer compatriots to defend homeland in all the 14 counties of the British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Our self-defense forces grew more than tenfold as many brave compatriots voluntarily enlisted themselves to protect their communities. Thanks to my trip to Buea, for the first time in our colonial history, we were able to stop the colonizers from celebrating their so-called 20th May National Day and many so-called official celebrations in our territory. The economic sabotage escalated, costing the colonizer billions of francs CFA, more to keep up with the war they wage on us. We were also able to stop La République du Cameroon from organizing elections, both senatorial and presidential, in our territory. They lost the last vestige of legitimacy in our territory. Our diplomatic strides have been steady and productive without attracting the noise that is characteristic of social media publicity. You all have witnessed a significant positive shift in positions at the international scene concerning our struggle in 2018. From the United Nations, the United States Senate, and the House of Representatives, the UK House of Lords, and the House of Commons, the Bundestag in Germany, to the Canadian Parliament, and other European governments, the cries of our dying people are rattling the consciences of some ladies and gentlemen in power. Through our diplomacy of force and our tireless advocacy, the organizing body of the African Cup of Nations, AFCON, was able to see reason why the bloodthirsty regime of neighboring La République du Cameroon should not enjoy the glory of hosting Africa's most prestigious tournament. They probably came to this very difficult decision after Paul Biya himself, despite being the most protected African tyrant leader, cancelled campaigning in our territory during his last presidential bid, citing insecurity as a major concern. Who then will be more secured in our territory, a football tourist or an incumbent president? I must recognize the efforts of well-meaning Ambazonians who, through their actions and sense of patriotism, also contributed to achieve these diplomatic successes and many others. I must also use this opportunity to caution other well-intentioned Southern Cameroonian Ambazonians, social media activists, and surrogates, whose excesses and failure to apply wisdom, discretion, and sound judgment are doing more harm to our campaign than good. All good things deserve to be well done. So I say thank you and keep up the good work until we reach Buea. Remember that it is not everything that the ear hears and the eye sees that should be vocalized, shared, or forwarded, especially within our context where we are not in control of many of the actors on ground zero. Otherwise, you, with your own hands, will destroy the house that you are so rigorously trying to build. You honor Ambazonia by your best effort service to its people. I am thinking of my close collaborators, some of whom spend sleepless nights to do the heavy lifting in terms of strategies that keep this revolution alive. And most importantly, our compatriots both on ground zero and the diaspora, we say thank you for your resilience and support. This revolution is yours, and therefore, despite the shortcomings that may arise in the way we serve you, never give up until we liberate our great nation, the British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. On the AGC, the Anglophone General Conference, here is our position. This is supposed to be a meeting of all British Southern Cameroonian leaders to chart a common position before we face the adversary. We want to reprimand those compatriots who have blatantly chosen to disregard the will, desires, and aspirations of all, going about purporting to organize this all-inclusive pre-negotiation conference in Boya instead, just so to technically exclude the diaspora, thereby dancing to the wish of our oppressors. That kind of endeavor, though well-intentioned, is futile and will only promote the peril of our people. We will resist any such enterprise in 2019 with all our energy. Any such conference will only have a chance of seeing the light of day if the diaspora is at the table and agrees on the venue. Finally, let me use this opportunity to address some strange Southern Cameroonians, especially on ground zero, who are nurturing and propagating a separation of ground zero from the diaspora for flimsy reasons. Look around you and tell us how feasible is your calculation. We cannot fight for power before we fight to take control. Open your eyes and see who your true enemy is and point your rage in the right direction, lest we shoot ourselves in the foot and wonder why we cannot run to Boya. We must come to the realization that the international community is watching. International community, friendly nations, internal and external investors are watching closely. The interim government cannot afford to tolerate or admit acts of kidnapping or terrorism by our own people. I wish to reiterate on this. All such atrocities are prohibited on ground zero moving forward. Any armed group which has publicly acknowledged perpetrating or supporting any such acts in Guzang or Munyenge, etc., should consider the implications, issue disclaimers with regard to their involvement in these acts, and restore discipline. Otherwise, they will remain blacklisted by every true Ambazonian in order to save our revolution. The interim government frowns at any individual or armed group which amounts to a desecration of our genuine endeavor in liberating Ambazonia, and will treat such acts by such groups as enemy acts I repeat, all kidnapping for ransom, killing of innocent Ambazonians, killing of fellow Amba soldiers, and all forms of organized criminality on ground zero by whosoever is severely prohibited. We should pursue the perpetrators out of our counties. The interim government is not out there to police political organizations or nationalist movements and groups prosecuting this revolution, but the interim government will hold armed groups to account for whatever act they present or confess to. Self-defense should not be seen to be carried out by diaspora organizations. The people of Ambazonia on ground zero are the ones defending themselves. Our diaspora labels on ground zero with CEOs in the diaspora are a problem in our revolution. None of us recruited anybody into self-defense. The people spontaneously enlisted themselves to fight. Why own anybody because you helped him? Or why take responsibility for actions you are not in control of? If we had the powers, we will ban all these names of self-defense groups originating from the diaspora and let our forces on ground zero only organize themselves. We will do so now, and we will support them. By owning self-defense groups, we implicate ourselves in the diaspora before the international community, just like La Republique. On the humanitarian front, your interim government, through the Department of Health and Social Services, has continually assisted our IDPs and refugees in Nigeria thanks to your generosity and those of our partners and friends. We must also recognize the good humanitarian works initiated by goodwill organizations towards assisting our IDPs and refugees. We applaud churches, the Aya Foundation, Unity Foundation, CHRI, MAFAC, Victoria Relief Foundation, Keep It Real Foundation for their contributions towards our countrymen, women, and children in refugee camps in Nigeria and West Africa. Also, worth appreciating is the hospitality of our neighbors, especially the leaders and people of our border states with Nigeria and other West African countries for hosting our fleeing populations, as well as the United Nations High Commission for Refugees for the commendable job they are doing. We will not fail to recognize the contribution of unbiased, professional journalists and media houses around the world who have shed more light on the sufferings of our innocent people. We say thank you. My dear compatriots, fellow Ambazonians, we picked up from where His Excellency President Sisiko Julius Ayuk Tabe left his vision of unity, a vision he clearly articulated in his 2017 end-of-year speech. We have worked so hard to bring the frontline nationalist groups under one umbrella, or to work together, so that we can all contribute in a collaborative manner in order to liberate our homeland in the shortest possible time. We merged the Canada Collaborative Initiative with the All Ambazonia Consultative Council, AACC, held on the 18th and the 19th of August 2018 in Washington, USA, where all our frontline leaders met to brainstorm on the way forward for our revolution. The outcome which you are all aware of, was not sustainable, given that some of our compatriots chose to put ego and personal interests before the collective spirit and wishes of our people. Early this year, we will give another try for all our willing political organizations, non-defense groups in the diaspora, to establish a framework to face the international community as one voice. ACON is at the center of this initiative under the leadership of Professor Kavsin Anyangwe. My dear people, notwithstanding, this is not a time to give up. Your interim government will never give up. Your interim government will continue to find ways of collaborating with all compatriots, even those who have decided to take different routes towards Buea. But we will spare no effort to shame and exclude all sellouts, and this includes all online saboteurs using lies and propaganda, intimidation tactics, and violent rhetorics against Ambazonians whom they disagree with. Even in our quest for a better collaborative structure, we should, as a collective, take on all avowed enemies of our revolution, within and without, if we must get to Buea sooner than later. The ongoing local government area LGA Peace Plan initiative, crafted some of the finest Ambazonians serving you, is the way forward. The main objective here is to galvanize our people in the grassroots to be active in terms of mobilizing financial resources, taking active part in the management of the affairs of their various LGAs and that of the IG through their elected local government representatives. By now, each Ambazonian is supposed to have joined his or her local government. Please do so if you have not yet identified and joined your local government area. Early this coming year, the structures of the Ambazonia Commission for Reconciliation and Negotiation, ACON, and the Ambazonia Stakeholders Strategic Congress, ASSC, initiative, which I announced in October, will be fully functional. I appeal to stakeholders made up of statesmen, leaders, experts, and representatives of nationalist groups and organizations to exhibit their high sense of patriotism by actively responding to the invitation of the Commission. ACON is the General Assembly of all our political movement leaders in charge of pursuing reconciliation amongst our leadership and prepare the ground for eventual negotiation with French Cameroon as a united front. It will be another opportunity for us to channel our collective resources towards liberating homeland. To quote Mahatma Gandhi, as also frequently quoted by His Excellency Sisiko Julius Ayuktabe, first, they will ignore you. Second, they will laugh at you, and then they will fight you. They laughed at us to scorn when our teachers and lawyers called for national strike actions. They mocked at us and called us 2 cubes of sugar. And they called us rats. They called us dogs. When we came out on the 22nd of September 2017 and followed suit to slaughter our unarmed youth in the street on the 1st of October 2017. But when they saw our resolve, in October 1st, 2017, they declared war against us in November. Now they are incurring heavy costs and are running out of resources to prosecute this senseless war they declared on us. But I tell you, this is clear. With about 30,000 Amba warriors ready to defend themselves and our communities from the big evil, we are only warming up now, just getting started. We all, 8 million strong Ambazonians, have been condemned by these brutal annexationists to fight for our homeland or live without a nation we call ours. We will shift the game plan from a defensive strategy to an offensive strategy. Ambazonia will be hotter for the occupier in 2019. Rest in the confidence that we have been an uncrackable nut to La Republique, and we will stay on this path for the longest time to their greatest dismay, should they continue to avoid dialogue without preconditions, as recently prescribed by members of the United Nations Security Council. 2019 will be the year of dynamic reclamation of our national territory. In this vein, we have programmed to ensure, secure, and escalate our offensive apparatus while maintaining and improving our defensive apparatus. The final phase of this fierce conflict in 2019 is not going to be made of grandiose promises. There is a fine line between promising and delivering. Rather than make wishful promises, we will adopt policies that we can all work together to implement. I believe in setting goals and coming out with realistic plans and strategies to achieve those goals. In this regard, the Ambazonia Strategic and Planning Committee, made up of some of our best strategic minds, is currently working on our Ambazonia Dream Plan. As pioneer visionaries that we are, we have the duty to invest our goals or invest in our goals until they become a reality. Some of you will be solicited to help. Having to do with the Amba Peace Plan initiative, the interim government has opted to temporarily suspend the 20% remittance by the local governments that was supposed to be for the central government community policing. Also, considering the stakes involved, we have reached out to some of our traditional authorities soliciting their collaboration to facilitate the establishment and running of educational institutions within their communities in Ambazonia, which are not under the constant harassment of French Cameroon's armed terrorists. We are hoping that as we give our people the unique opportunity to take responsibility, then our community and our community authorities should take the advantage to restore the pride of their local governments that was desecrated by the occupier. On the security arena, we are already in the process of reinstituting our mobile wing police force. This is the main security institution that we inherited from our forefathers before colonial President Amadou Ahidjo came to override it with his barbaric colonial gendarmerie. We shall not be deterred by the reluctance in collaboration with our interim government that we face in-house. We will continue to extend a hand of fellowship to all, but we shall maintain the policy of zero tolerance to anyone or armed group involved with any criminal activities. The phenomenon of kidnapping for ransom, chopping of limbs, beheading, or mutilation of corpses by anyone to our own people is not Ambazonia and does not fall in line with our interim government's self-defense rules of engagement. Neither has it ever been perpetrated by our genuine restoration forces. The interim government, therefore, has taken particular interest in these very disturbing acts and is poised to stem the tide of such and other criminal activity with the creation of the Mobile Wing Police Force. Atanganji's militias and Bia's terrorist forces masquerading as unidentified gunmen and criminal elements parading as amber boys should take special notice. Even in the middle of a brutal war, we will not tolerate war criminals of any sort throughout our national territory. This year, the security of our people will be a major focus of this interim government. The interim government encourages a cordial relationship between our people and our self-defense groups on ground zero. We cannot be seen to be inflicting pain on our own. I strongly believe that collaboration amongst all self-defense forces under our newly established county defense councils will also limit unwarranted fears, chaos, friendly fires, and anarchy within our ranks. I also urge our counties and local government officials not to discriminate when providing resources to our people on the ground, provided they are for good. I have gone through the court case against us. It is laughable indeed. My brothers and I are not afraid to appear in any court for this cause. I wish to caution the plaintiff to properly identify us as British Southern Cameroonians any day we meet in court, so that we can start from there. This is not Sakos, Tapangs, Akwangas, Ayabas, or Bo's trial. This is the trial of the British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia by a La République agent in America. Let's start rallying to put up the big fight. We are in this together. Dear brothers and sisters, it is wrong to say we don't need a government now, because we had one before we were cruelly annexed. Restoration of our sovereignty must involve the restoration of that government that was illegally dissolved. There's no award for the best group or individual, or our divide only helps our delay. We must jointly identify the need to minimize the pain on our people in ground zero. This leads me to the Ambazonia Stakeholder Strategic Congress Initiative. The Ambazonia Stakeholder Strategic Congress Initiative, ASSC, has tentatively been fixed for the last week of February 2019. Accredited country heads and coordinators will participate. When these local government administrators would have been fully constituted, they will join with all accredited country heads and coordinators as an assembly. The interim government has proposed to sponsor a bill for the amendment for the amendment of the Constitution to recognize that assembly as our lower house of the Restoration Council. It is therefore illegal for anyone to officially present any group of people at this time as a parliament of Ambazonia. The process of electing local government administrators must be transparently democratic and involve people who are wholly committed to the restoration of our sovereignty. This is why we must be careful who we elect or nominate to represent our communities. On another note, we cannot overemphasize this point. The interim government is not against private enterprise, be it cryptocurrency, marketing, or any other initiative that truly strengthens the economy viability of our people. But we will not jeopardize the general interests of Ambazonia. Our economic experts have liaised with the individuals who came up with a lofty idea of the Amber coin cryptocurrency, but in the absence of acceptable collateralization and proper regulation to protect the interests of all Ambazonians, the interim government has refused to endorse the project as presented. We hope that each and every private economic initiative will communicate their vision and purpose accurately, concisely, and with all honesty to allow Ambazonians to make well-informed decisions on their investment, and let it also be known that the resources of Ambazonia will not be put for sale or mortgaged by any private group or individuals. The interim government may partner with this initiative subsequently if its initiators meet proper regulations in due time. My fellow Ambazonians, I will not be the wicked and lazy servant who hid his master's coin in the earth. As a caretaker and steward of this office, and with your help, work hard to multiply the success our President, His Excellency Sisiko Julius Ayok Tabe, registered before his brutal abduction. We shall not idle around and continue to water down our wings. Our best be seen by the many challenges we have faced. The turbulence of 2018 have strengthened us. It is in human nature to disagree with each other, to prove ourselves. But what we should guard against is the spirit of hate. We should correct each other with love, without which we shall not be different from the tyrant oppressor we are kicking out. We are in a revolution where everyone is looking up to whoever provides a working solution, and in the desire to search for solutions, we anxiously defend personal beliefs and discard the interests of our people. If this was my revolution, I will prosecute it differently. I will take a lot of things into my hands. I will be tempted to do little or no consultation. But no, this is the people's revolution. Let us convert every negative energy into a thoughtful process. We might not undermine the dark clouds ahead of us, but with a mighty fist we can plunge through with courage. My dear people, let us not misconstrue these intermittent hiccups we encounter as we journey towards Boya to be representative of the future Ambazonia we are trying to build. No, that will not be the case. We will not be at war. We will never become a South Sudan or Eritrea post-independence. Remember, the pangs of a woman in labor always end with the birth of a beautiful baby that brings smile to all. That is the Ambazonia we will have, a beacon of democracy and prosperity in Africa and the rest of the world. Those who are quick to liken us to Eritrea or South Sudan should look at Hong Kong, South Korea, Japan, how they have emerged from the ashes and chaos. Except the world is trying to judge us by the color of our skin and not the content of our character. For 57 years, we have sufficiently demonstrated, even to the acknowledgement of our enemies, that British Southern Cameroonians are a very enterprising and peace-loving people whose love for their motherland is unparalleled. We will not therefore afford to take our country back, then destroy it for any reason under heaven. This is our direct assurance to the international community and investors in Ambazonia. This is our assurance. We are Ambazonians, where the security of our people will be a priority, enabled by a well-structured army, ready at all times to defend our territorial integrity. An army whose foundation will be laid by the present brave compatriots defending homeland, and a police system built on the principles laid down by our forebearers in the 60s. We are Ambazonia, a country where justice will not be for the rich and powerful, but for every Ambazonian, irrespective of class, under a judicial system built from the foundation of the common law and the unique Ambazonian identity. We are Ambazonians, a nation with a producer-centered economy, a country where trade deals will be open, pegged on fairness, and no matter the partners involved, and all revenues generated from our rich human and material natural resources will be used to invest in infrastructure and the welfare of our people. We are Ambazonia, a nation whose rich human potentials presently scattered around the world, as well as Ground Zero, will be maximized to the best of their abilities, and its sustainability guaranteed by an exemplary educational system designed to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Currently, the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration is at the finishing stages of a detailed curriculum that will be applicable in our schools, hopefully from September 2019. So let's not forget that this revolution was sparked by the outcry of our teachers and lawyers against the deplorable educational and judicial systems our people were subjected to. Ambazonia for Ambazonians. Ambazonia, we are at the verge of partnering with special educational service providers who will facilitate the teaching of our children in refugee camps using our own curriculum. We are also envisaging the implementation of our new curriculum in our schools in selected communities via our newly instituted local government area authorities. We will do so once the environment for learning with our curriculum becomes more feasible. In conclusion, I declare 2019 the year of dynamic reclamation of our national territory and our place in the community of nations from all colonial rule. From every local government area to our urban cities, we shall not only fight with our every energy, but we will protect our people, old and young, from this colonial monstrosity. We shall chase the occupier and all her vestiges out, and we shall take total control and embrace our territory as the only legitimate heirs of the land. Ambazonia shall be for Ambazonians, and never forget that we are Ambazonians. Victorious New Year 2019. Long live Ambazonia. Short live the war. God bless the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Thank you.